Today's Maya Angelou poem is called Woman Work. I've got the children to tend, the clothes to mend, the floor to mop, the food to shop, then the chicken to fry, the baby to dry. I got company to feed, the garden to weed. I've got the shirts to press, the tots to dress, the cane to be cut. I gotta clean up this hut, then see about the sick and the cotton to pick. Shine on me, sunshine, rain on me, rain. Fall softly, dewdrops, and cool my brow again. Storm, blow me from here with your fiercest wind. Let me float across the sky till I can rest again. Fall gently, snowflakes, cover me with white. Cold, icy kisses, and let me rest tonight. Sun, rain, curving sky, mountain, oceans, leaf and stone. Star shine, moon glow. You're all that I can call my own. Hey Booktube, this is Kim at Middle of the Bookmarch, and this is my Bookish week for Sunday, August 18th. And 2 more days and my granddaughter will be 2 years old. We had an early birthday party for her yesterday, and for 2, she did pretty good. My daughter had kind of an open house style party, and people came by when they had a chance and stayed for a little bit, and so it was a whole morning of a lot of company, and it really was nice to see everybody that wanted to stop by with gifts. And it was warm enough to be outside. It wasn't really sunny, but it was warm enough, and she had several other children her age that she played with, and it was just really sweet. So happy birthday to my baby granddaughter. Today I have 1 book that I finished to talk to you about, and I have 3 on the go, and some other books I wanted to discuss for different reasons. Hint, hint. But let's get going. I did finish James by Percival Everett, and I wanted to give you my thoughts on this magnificent book. It did not change its rating for me. It was initially a 5-star rating, and I use the Goodreads rating, but this is a phenomenal book. So 5 stars really isn't enough. But this is the reimagining of the character of Jim from Huckleberry Finn. In this book, he is known as James. And I don't want to give too much away, but the crux of the story is the image that enslaved people gave off in order to survive living with white people, persecuting them, and the violence of slavery, the horror and the torture and the depravity of the institution of slavery, and not only what that did to enslaved people, but the identities it took away from them. James is a man who became friends with Huck Finn. In this book, I have not read Huckleberry Finn, so in this book, they are friends. And he, of course, is a slave, and Huckleberry Finn is a young boy living with the white family who owns James. And there is an event that happens that forces James to make a really crucial, difficult decision. But the beginning of the story, we look at James as a slave. And as readers reading a story behind a person who is enslaved, we're kind of expecting them to be a stereotypical character who is stuck in slavery, who has been stolen into slavery. James proves us wrong. He is not an uneducated man who has been held from reality. He is astute and perceptive and observant, and a much different man than we would stereotypically read in a slave narrative. He is a leader. He is much more mindful and intellectual than we give him credit for as a character in Huckleberry Finn. But whatever it does in this book is just phenomenal. The commentary based on the life of James and his relationship with Huck, his relationship with white people and white America leading up to the Civil War it's just a magnificent story. And Buddy read this with Erin from Erin Go Live, and we both felt almost exactly the same way about this book. I highlighted throughout the book, and there were so many quotes that were profound to me. And I do want to read one of them because it's incredibly appropriate to the time in history that we're at now. So let me find it, and I want to read it to you. This quote is early on in the book. It's on page 73, and this is about a 300-page book. But let me read this to you. I really wanted to read. Though Huck was asleep, I could not chance his waking and discovering me with my face in an open book. Then I thought, how could he know that I was actually reading? I could simply claim to be staring dumbly at the letters and words, wondering what in the world they meant. How could he know? At that moment, the power of reading made itself clear and real to me. If I could see the words, then no one could control them or what I got from them. They couldn't even know if I was merely seeing them or reading them, sounding them out or comprehending them. It was a completely private affair and completely free, and therefore completely subversive. That quote brings up so much for me, and it kind of should for any reader who gets joy and contentment and passion and everything out of reading, out of books, out of the act of reading, out of what the words mean. And that quote, when you talk about reading as private and solitary and subversive, when we apply that to the historical context of our time in the U.S. right now, the school districts around the country who are banning lists of books, most often books that nobody in the administration has even read, they're just taking the word from a bunch of abnormally distraught, invasive, ignorant people who think they know what books do to kids and to young people. And they believe books are of the devil or evil or would cause children to rip their lives apart. Who knows why they're demanding book banning? But this is a perfect quote for our time in the U.S. right now. And anyone who picks up a banned book, go for it. Good for you. Do it, do it, do it. And a little further on in my conversation today, I'm going to talk about a banned book that I'm going to be reading very soon. So I finished James last week, and I've seen so many other booktubers talk about that book as if this is the best book they've read all year, and I probably will add that to my list. Typically I do a best of at the end of the year. It absolutely will be there. I'm not sure when, I'm not sure where, because I still have much of the year to read books, but it's on the list, so that's a spoiler, I guess. I am currently reading 3 books, and for the past few weeks I've only remembered to talk to you about 2 of them, but there's actually 3. I started Absolution by Alice McDermott. She's a favorite author of mine. There's a few Alices who I really love. This is the story of the women and the wives of people, men during the Vietnam War who were sent over to Vietnam. And this is Saigon in 1963. Charlene and Trisha, who become acquainted. Trisha is a newlywed wife, shy and observant, but introverted, quiet. And Charlene is somewhat of a bully, crass, rude, snobbish. And this is the story of that circle and group of women, group of acquaintances, and what happens with these 2 characters over time. So far, it's really good, and I love McDermott's writing. I am currently still reading All the Colors of the Dark by Chris Whitaker. This is my book group book for the Critical Chicks for August. And this is the story of Saint, a young girl named Saint, and her friend, a young boy named Patch. At the very beginning of the book, Patch saves a young student that they both know, a young girl, from being kidnapped and violated, but Patch then disappears. So Saint is on the hunt for her best friend, and this would be considered a literary thriller. The writing, absolutely fantastic. So, and I almost did it again. The other book I'm currently reading is on audio, and I have been listening to the Autobiography of Barbra Streisand. My name is Barbara. Right now, I am 90% through the audiobook, and this is a flippin' long audiobook, so I haven't even talked about this for the last couple of weeks. I am at the home stretch, and we'll talk about that my next weekend Bookish Week video. So yeah, I can't believe I forgot all about that. But it's one of those books, I think I got a deal on it or something. I wouldn't have normally purchased this book, but a few friends read it or listened to it and highly recommended it. And it's Barbara Streisand narrating the book, and she has musical tracks along with it. It's excellent on audio. What am I reading in September? I'm not sure about all the books I'll read in September, but I do know about one, A Court of Thorn and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. This is a banned book in high schools across the country. And MJ from Reading This Life is hosting a banned book event where she's going to be reading A Court of Thorn and Roses. And I do believe there are an innumerable, uncountable number of booktubers who are going to be reading this book in September, me included. Probably never would have picked this book up otherwise. Not because I don't approve of it, because it's romantasy, I believe. And I also believe this had been originally marketed as young adult, and I don't typically pick up young adult. I have read a few, but it's everywhere. Not only is it everywhere, in every single store I go into, not even just bookstores, this book is staring at me. So why not? And I do have other adult friends who have read it and love it. I am really looking forward to trying this and seeing what happens. Read a banned book, all of you. Here's the part of the video where some of you may get really angry at me, but don't come for me. Don't come at me. I was doing a buddy read with Pat from Book Chat with Pat, and we were reading Stephen King's The Stand. This is a monstrous, heavy book. We were going to be reading this through August and September, and I think I got through to about 100 pages, and this is an 1,100 and something page book. His original text, there was apparently 400 pages that were edited out way back when, but he put them back in to publish this original length copy. I got about 100 pages and I realized I don't want to read this book. This is not for me. And I have also realized that I am not a Stephen King reader. I am not the person who Stephen King's books attracts. And I've read many of his other novels, mostly some of his earlier ones, and nothing that's really gory horror. I've usually read kind of the psychological stuff. But I am not a Stephen King reader. I know so many people who love his books. I have been recommended books by people in person, by family members and friends. He is a beloved author, and I totally understand that, but he doesn't fit me. So I DNF'd this book with Pat, and we are going to be on the hunt for a better buddy reading experience that fits our taste a little bit more closely than Stephen King. On that note, I have 3 Stephen King books in my possession. This is one of them. I also have Fairy Tale by Stephen King, and I have 11/22/63. This is another humongous book. This is almost, it's over 800 pages. It's huge. This one is not as long. Fairy Tale is around 600 and something pages. But I don't plan on keeping any of these books, and I would be more than happy to give them to somebody who would enjoy them. I can't even hold them up. They're too heavy. I'm going to try. There they are. So if you would like these books, if you would like all 3, or if you would like one of them, I'm more than happy to ship them to you. I will only be able to ship in the US, so if you want them, write me a comment down below. Whoever responds first to all or any one of them, I'll be happy to send them to you. I'll probably ask you for a couple dollars for shipping, but that will be it. So let me know in the comments below if you want all of these or any one of them or 2 of them, whatever. Whoever responds earliest will get whatever they've chosen, and we'll go from there. So if you like Stephen King, if you haven't read these yet, or if you would love to try, they are all yours. It's just not for me. And I will pretty much try any type of book at any time. And a lot of times it's experimental. And I know the type of books that I usually love, but I always want to try something new, whether it's an author or a genre or whatever. And so sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and this one just did not work for me. Even though I'm quite familiar with Stephen King and his style and his previous books that I did enjoy. So, and I've watched several Stephen King movies and have loved them. So that's about it for me. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Let me know if you want any of these Stephen King books in the comments below. First come, first serve. And I'll see you all in the next video. Bye, everybody.